everyone, and welcome back to another book review. Today I am going to be reviewing Volume 2 of Heaven's Design Team. So I read Volume 1 and I really enjoyed it. I feel like it did suffer from the usual weaknesses that come from the first volume in a manga series, but I could definitely tell it was going to be enjoyable, so I kept reading. I had checked out Volumes 2 and 3 at the same time. I checked out Volume 1 because I'm aware of this issue that I usually find with manga, so I like to read Volumes 1, 2, and 3 kind of, or at least 1 and 2 right at one after the other, so that I can get a feel for the whole series and not just that first volume, which might have some characteristic flaws. If you're interested in that, you can watch the video on Volume 1 for Heaven's Design Team. However, this is Volume 2. So let's dive in. The first thing I want to say is that the covers of these are full of really crazy colors. I found that for all of them. All the ones, because they had them all on the shelf, all the ones that my library had on the shelf, and the colors are very, very crazy and wild. So that's one thing to note. The other thing is that the books, and this was true for Volume 1, but I didn't call it out, have these super cool colored pages that I really, really like, which I thought were a cool touch. Not every page is colored. I feel like that'd be very, very expensive, but they do have a couple pages that are colored, which tend to be super, super cool. So Volume 2 definitely was still really good. I really enjoyed it, and I think that it actually raised, it was a little better than Volume 1, but I anticipated that. Again, as I spoke about, Volume 1 in manga series tend to be a little weaker than a lot of other stuff in the series. At least that's my personal opinion. I usually find them weaker because the author really has to put that exposition out there, and they really want to find their feet, and they're trying to like find their humor style and how they're trying to, or what kind of space the book's going to occupy, for lack of a better term. And I feel like that can lead to some weaknesses in the first volume. So Volume 2 tends to be a lot stronger, and I found that, or at least the ones after Volume 1 tend to be a lot stronger, because I feel like the author tends to be a little more confident and has found their footing, and and you as the reader know the characters. You kind of move past that exposition phase where the characters have to be introduced and you have to learn about everyone and their personality, and you're constantly referring back to the character pages to figure out who they are. That being said, we do have the character page right here, so if you do forget, you can just check right here. And in this one, the designers are still designing animals for God. They're still coming up with crazy creations, and information on the things that are approved, so animals that exist in real life, are still found on the pages between the chapters, which I think are really, really interesting. I think this book has the perfect balance between like funny, clearly fantasy, clearly fictional situation, but factual. And I feel like that could be a really hard thing to balance, or the facts might not blend very easily into the story, but I feel like the authors struck a really good balance here, and I feel like that balance would be very hard to get right, and they've got it correct. And it's funny, but I'm still being educated, but I'm also being entertained, and it's a really good mix that I feel like can be hard to achieve, especially in a manga setting. I feel like if you said this might be an educational manga, I'd be like, what? Is that why I'm reading it? But this one was, and I really, really enjoyed it. I feel like the balance was there and it was correct. Additionally, we're doing things outside of just designing animals. I feel like, again, when you start moving into a manga series, you can get away from the main core concept. Like, you can have little side diversions, if that makes sense. So Volume 1, we were just working on like animal creation. That was a huge portion of it. In this one, they take a little bit of a work trip, and they go to Galapagos Island, and they do a work trip there, which was a really funny side trip that I felt showed off the characters' personalities, and I thought was really funny. Overall, I really like this book. I would give it a 4-star. I was laughing to myself at certain points of the book, and I definitely wanted to keep reading. After I read Volume 2, I actually right away picked up and read Volume 3 because I was enjoying it so much. I learned a lot, and I feel like the authors are definitely onto an idea that I didn't know I wanted to read, but now that I'm reading it, I realize how much I actually needed this series in my life. If you've read this series or have any comments either on Volume 1, Volume 2, the series as a whole, please leave it down below. I'd love to hear it. Other than that, thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.